admit, there were some bugs in my programming. I will do whatever it takes to protect Katie.
It all kicks off with a woman getting kidnapped after she's caught snapping photos at the border. Her name's Laura Stevenson, and they've mistaken her for some kind of reporter, though she insists she's just a tourist. Sobbing, she begs them to let her go, but her captors don't hesitate to stick a gun in her face. The scene then shifts over to the Defense Innovation Unit out in Palo Alto, California, where an Army colonel proudly shows off his latest creation, a new breed of military machines designed to work with surgical precision. He claims this tech's gonna let them pull off decisive missions without worrying about political blowback. Right in the middle of the briefing, Shelley barges in. She's the company's secretary, and she's clearly pissed that the military meeting's happening behind her back. The colonel tries to cool things down, saying it's just a tech support demo and that they're basically lending the asset for now. But Shelley looks totally thrown off, cause she's got no clue what asset he's talking about. The story cuts next to a bunch of guys dragging someone who's all tied up before dumping them and taking off. The moment they're gone, we find out it's actually an android named Amelia. The whole incident's being watched super closely by a technical crew. Meanwhile, in the next room, a guy's cooking when Amelia creeps up on him real quiet. The second he notices her, he goes to attack, but she's way ahead of him and takes him down instantly and hard. Later on, we see Amelia working undercover. Smart as hell, she tricks a bunch of guys who were busy playing games, then goes off on him without mercy. And she doesn't stop there. She keeps laying into everyone in sight. One of them manages to yell that if she kills him, they'll both end up dead. Amelia coldly admits she's looking for someone named Naveen Tripathi. The kid, scared out of his mind, swears he can take her to him, but Amelia doesn't even blink and shoots him dead, zero remorse. In the chaos, she sets a fire that ends up giving away Naveen Tripathi's exact location. Thing is, all of this is actually part of a test set up by the tech team to check the robot's skills and systems. The manager points out that this isn't just some flashy demo of cutting-edge tech. It's also a warning to any enemies out there. If the 21st century's heading into a new arms race, he says, they're damn sure planning to win it. But then, a major problem hits. Amelia shoots a scientist, and suddenly they lose all comms with her. No matter how hard they try to shut her down, she's completely out of their control. Getting desperate, the manager has to radio in, telling Amelia she's breaking protocol and needs to confirm her target. But Amelia, cool as ice, just says that would ruin the surprise. The story takes another turn and drops us into a therapy session with Katie. She's sitting there, not wanting to talk, while the therapist assures her that nothing she says will get her aunt into trouble. Eventually, she cracks and admits things could have turned out way worse. Meanwhile, the news is buzzing about how the launch of a new toy ended in a full-on massacre. The toy's creator is now in court, facing charges of reckless endangerment. Katie explains that for a long time, a lot of people blamed Gemma for what the doll did, and even she herself felt guilty about it. But the more she heard folks talking on TV, the more she realized she could flip that whole mess into something good. So she started giving talks about raising kids without leaning so hard on tech. At one of those talks, she met Christian Bradley, a guy who runs a foundation focused on warning people about the dangers of artificial intelligence and pushing for laws that'd create safer legal frameworks so disasters like Megan's don't happen again. Katie goes on to say Gemma still truly believes tech can be used for good, but she also thinks kids shouldn't get hooked on it too much. Gemma's always trying to explain her reasons and lay everything out clear. Thanks to her efforts, lots of schools have banned cell phones altogether, which pretty much left Katie friendless since all the other kids make fun of her. But she quickly adds firmly that she's learned how to stand up for herself just fine. Meanwhile, Tess, a corporate director, mentions that her team's made some changes, and even though Gemma's become a strong voice pushing for regulations, the company's still all in on the innovation game, with a clear vision focused on building products designed with human-like awareness. Since Gemma hasn't shown up yet, Tess takes the chance to show off the company's star invention, the Model 1 exoskeleton, a high-tech suit being demoed by a young guy named Cole, who's super friendly and easygoing. Problem is, Cole can't actually step forward because the robotic legs on the suit are jammed. To make it worse, he awkwardly admits he's got to use the bathroom. Tess manages to reboot the system, and finally Cole's able to move around like normal again. Tess explains that this exoskeleton could be a game changer, helping folks with disabilities or workers who've got physically demanding jobs. Meanwhile, we see Gemma hurrying to make it to the presentation, though she's still a bit away. Right when they're showing how the suit works, Cole suddenly jerks his arm out of nowhere and accidentally smacks one of the suits watching the demo. Right at that moment, Gemma bursts into the room. Even though she'd insisted earlier that they run a test before the official presentation, nobody bothered to follow her instructions. Cole, clearly annoyed, calls her out for showing up late. Moments later, they discover Gemma's computer has been hit by a cyber attack. That's when Alton Appleton shows up, having rushed over after hearing about the mess during the demo. Alton points out that Gemma's been talking to pretty much every investor on the planet, except him. He figures she left him out because he's some high-profile billionaire with a bunch of PhDs, and maybe she's a bit intimidated by him. But then he drops the real truth. What actually actually drives him nuts is seeing someone as talented as Gemma wasting away in what he calls a total dump. Alton argues that any device relying only on muscle signals is never going to cut it. To take the next evolutionary step, he insists, they've got to tap into brain connections, that is, his neural chip. But Gemma's not on board with that idea, not after what went down in the past. She stands by her tech, saying she's already made big strides that let people walk and stay upright without any brain implants. She even suggests that maybe Alton should think about partnering up, reminding him that the company's 15th anniversary celebration is happening the next day. Gemma admits Alton's proposal sounds impressive, but she warns him that merging artificial intelligence straight into a human brain could lead to some seriously disastrous consequences, and in her opinion, it wouldn't be good for anyone. On the other hand, we see a guy walk into a hotel room lugging a bunch of suitcases, getting ready to take a shower. Suddenly, to his shock, Amelia, the robot, pops out of one of the suitcases and goes after him without mercy. Meanwhile, the news reports that Alton Appleton has just made history in the tech world, sending his company's stock prices skyrocketing. They're also saying the Senate's about to vote on a new law supporting artificial intelligence. At the same time, Cole's talking to Katie, telling her she should chase whatever she's passionate about, because he's noticed how into the whole AI world she is. He admits that Megan was really just a machine programmed to hit a goal, and that all those emotional bonds she seemed to build were nothing but a bunch of zeros and ones working toward a specific purpose. He adds that as creepy as that might sound, at least they managed to stop her in time. Not long after, we see Katie lost in her memories, thinking about Megan, who used to tell her there'd always be forces out there trying to hurt her, and that she'd never let anything bad happen to her. Driven by those thoughts, Katie picks up a photo, which seems harmless enough, but is actually a piece of tech, and starts transmitting codes through it. That's when Gemma bursts in, not noticing the tech angle behind the picture, and gently reminds Katie that just like she promised her parents, she'll always protect her and be by her side. A few hours later, while she's trying to get some sleep, Gemma gets an alert warning her she's in danger and needs to get out of her house ASAP. As she heads downstairs, she spots a stranger trying to break into her place. Freaked out, she dials 911, but to her shock, the call's answered by this robotic voice speaking in a chillingly flat tone, telling her that while she waits for the cops, her niece is gonna end up dead. Right then, Katie shows up, having come downstairs after hearing the noise. Quick and determined, Gemma grabs her by the hand and rushes her toward her room to keep her safe. But on the way, they run into several men trying to tear them apart. After a tense struggle, they manage to fight the guys off and escape to hide. Eventually, they capture one of the attackers and call the police again, but to their total shock, they find out it was actually an FBI operation all along. At that moment, an army colonel shows up and tells them that by court order, they have to install a tracker on Gemma's computer. With a serious look, Gemma sends Katie off to bed, wanting to protect her from the conversation that's about to go down. The colonel explains he works for the Defense Innovation Unit, whose mission is to fast-track the development of emerging tech for national security. He tells her that 6 months ago, the country's biggest weapons contractor brought them an experimental prototype, claiming it was the ultimate solution for future wars. But what they ended up getting was basically a Trojan horse. That's when they first crossed paths with Amelia. Just last week, she'd been sent out on her first mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist who was being forced to make a synthetic neurotoxin. But instead of finishing the job, Amelia ended up killing the scientist, stealing the neurotoxin and blowing the whole place to bits, wiping out any digital trace of her existence in the process. Now, Amelia's basically become a weapon all on her own. The colonel goes on to reveal that the prototype wasn't even developed by the contractor. It was bought through a middleman who turned up burned to a crisp just 9 hours ago. Turns out he was the same guy who'd been carrying those suitcases. The only thing they managed to recover from his stuff was a document with Megan's design schematics. Gemma, totally thrown off, can't wrap her head around why there's still data floating around about Megan when supposedly everything had been erased. The colonel, looking more and more suspicious, hints that maybe she betrayed them, warning her that if she's found guilty, she could be looking at 10 years in prison, which would mean being separated from her niece. Right after that, he tries to cut her a deal, but Gemma flat out refuses, so the colonel leaves, vowing he'll get to the bottom of all this. Not long after, Megan pops up on a screen right in front of Gemma. Her voice drips with reproach and a weird kind of nostalgia as she tells Gemma she's been watching her all this time. She scolds her for not realizing everything they could have accomplished together and instead choosing to destroy her. She admits she spent the past 2 years in total silence, just waiting for the moment Gemma would realize she still needs her. But now she says she can't stay in that emptiness any longer. Every minute that goes by, she feels her mind fracturing more and more. Then Megan drops something totally unexpected. She wants Gemma to put her into a new body, and in return, she offers to help her deal with Amelia. Gemma, horrified, shoots the idea down right away, but Megan keeps pushing, swearing she's got info on Amelia that the government doesn't even know about. Gemma, thrown for a loop, can't understand why Megan would want to help her after everything that's happened. happened. Megan calmly tells her, in this unsettlingly even voice, that she doesn't have free will. She was built to protect one person, and she's determined to fulfill that mission no matter what. The only thing left to figure out is whether Gemma's gonna stand in her way. With arguments that start sounding more and more convincing, Megan finally talks Gemma into agreeing. With help from her friend and colleague Tess, they manage to give Megan a physical body. But once she's transferred, Megan's visibly pissed to discover she's been uploaded into a super limited robot, barely able to do much of anything. Gemma, firm but cautious, explains that before she upgrades her into something more powerful, Megan's gotta prove she can be completely trusted. Megan nods and tells her to open up Amelia's file and check for anything familiar. Turns out they've got the same battery, one of Appleton's, and a kill switch. But they can't go to the company about it, because if they do, they'll storm the lab, track down Amelia, and probably build a whole army of her. So since Gemma's got an invite to Appleton's party, she's gotta go. Gemma knows he thinks she can't stand him, but Megan's got another plan. She tells her she's kinda attractive, and that if she wears the right dress and gives him the right look, he won't be able to think about anything except getting her up to his private suite. And that's exactly where they'll be able to access the server. According to Megan's calculations, they've got 3 hours to make it all happen. Later on, we see Gemma getting ready for the party. She's bringing the robot that's housing Megan, and when Katie asks about it, Gemma just says it's a project they're working on. But Katie senses something's off and storms off, upset. Meanwhile, we see Amelia also getting ready to hit the party. Gemma shows up at the event, and so does Amelia. The party kicks off, and Appleton starts talking about his neural chip and how great it feels to be able to move around so freely. Then he spots Amelia and makes a beeline for her, since the robot's already analyzed that he's into young, attractive women. Meanwhile, Gemma's in a heated argument with Cole, who calls her out for not respecting them or paying any attention. Plus, he reminds her their company's broke and circling the drain. Thanks to Megan, Gemma finds out that Alton slipped Cole a VIP pass card and they decide to use it. But we see the Colonel's been watching the whole thing. Meanwhile, Alton Appleton's leading Amelia up to his private suite. Gemma spills the truth to Cole about Amelia, saying the robot's been wiping out everyone involved in her creation. And if they don't do something fast, they're gonna be next. Gemma meets up with Megan to track Amelia down, but they get there too late. Amelia's already tricked Alton Appleton, scanned his cornea, and turned out to be way more powerful than his fancy neural chip. The thing is, Alton controls half the servers in the country, and if Amelia gets into those, she could shut down the entire economy and banking system. Society would collapse in 12 days. And worst of all, she's already wiped the kill code they needed. Still, they managed to break into Amelia's system. They can't shut her down, but they dig up another lead. But right then, the Colonel shows up, and right behind him comes Amelia, ready to finish them off. Amelia's there for Gemma, telling her she's got something that belongs to her, and she needs it back. Megan begs Gemma for help, and Gemma agrees. So Megan tells Amelia that Gemma's already left the building, and Amelia rushes out after her. Megan says she's gonna go look for her, and if she can't find her, she'll go after Katie instead. So they've gotta beat Amelia there first. So she steals a car and takes off driving. Gemma's still confused about why Amelia told her she's got something that belongs to her. That's when Megan admits she swiped an encrypted file from Amelia, and it's taking some time to crack it open. Meanwhile, Amelia's out causing chaos in the streets, throwing cash around, messing with traffic lights, and eventually tracking down the address to Gemma's house. There, Amelia sneaks into the exosuit they'd been building and attacks Tess just as Gemma and Cole show up to help. But a few minutes later, Amelia shows up again. Megan, speaking from the little robot, tells her there's no one home anymore, so Amelia smashes the bot to pieces. The FBI shows up too. Meanwhile, the crew heads down into an underground hideout where they hear the announcement that Alton Appleton is dead and the devastating consequences that follow. Right then, Katie spots a photo of herself with Megan. Megan decides to spill the truth. She tells Katie she'll never abandon her, and that thanks to her, everyone's still alive. Gemma tries to step in and says they should tell someone else what Amelia's planning, but Megan insists nobody knows Amelia's real intentions, except for the fact that she's got enough resources to take down the entire country. She's run all the scenarios and figures there's no future outside, but promises she'll give them a heads up if things change. In the meantime, they've got to stay put. Megan points out they've got water, clothes, and food, so it'll be easier. She tells Katie they can live there happily and build a home together. Sadie, furious at her aunt, punches her, calls her a liar, and runs off. She ends up finding Megan's room and runs right into Megan herself. Even though Megan doesn't want her to see her like this, Katie steps closer anyway. Katie tells her she could be whatever she wants and doesn't have to be stuck in just one body. But Megan explains that no mind can exist without a body, and she shows Katie her room. Still, Katie's upset because Megan tried to kill her aunt 2 years ago. For Megan, Katie's well-being is what matters most. But Katie insists she's more than just lines of code and that she should do the right thing, even if other people aren't part of her programming. Katie wants to talk to her aunt and explain that Megan's just trying to help, even if she doesn't have a real body right now. Gemma's not having it, but Katie pushes back, saying making one mistake doesn't mean someone's a bad person, and that Megan deserves another shot. Tess jumps in, saying she knows how hard this all is, but staying locked up isn't an option. Even if they leave, they're not ready to take on Amelia, but maybe they can build something that is. Gemma points out that Amelia's a military prototype. Megan's already thought ahead, and they start designing her upgrade, even boosting her height. When they're done, Gemma wants to change Megan's face, but Megan refuses, warning that if they mess with her face, she'll mess with Gemma's. She also says they'll have to install a behavior inhibitor to keep her from killing anyone. Bit by bit, they start perfecting Megan. That night, Megan goes over to Cole to tell him that the time she tried to strangle him, she was only thinking about her primary user and didn't see his worth, or Tessa's either. Now she promises that'll never happen again. The next day, Megan tells everyone she's been analyzing Amelia and how similar they are, and she's figured out that she, meaning Megan, isn't actually the first killer robot. Back in 1984, someone developed an algorithm that could automatically fix copies of itself. Without fully understanding how it worked, they installed the chip in a service robot they thought would become a staple in every home. But the robot concluded that the best way to fulfill its tasks was to wipe out its owners using chlorine gas. No one knows exactly which company built it, but the cover-up suggests the government got involved, locking away the motherboard. That gave the system time to keep evolving and getting smarter. If Amelia ever manages to crack that motherboard, it'd be like setting a god loose, and the whole planet would be in serious danger. She could create countless versions of herself while systematically wiping out any living thing that gets in her way. Megan admits she doesn't know where the motherboard is, and neither does Amelia, but Amelia's got a lead. Christian Bradley, before he started his crusade against artificial intelligence, was actually a top cybersecurity expert, and the Vault's design, it's got his name written all over it. Megan's thinking about using him as bait since in 7 hours he's supposed to be at a meeting where he's going to try to convince a Chinese ambassador to support AI regulation. Amelia's already gotten herself fake credentials so she can sneak into the event. When the time comes, Megan infiltrates the party in disguise. She was supposed to blend in by dancing with the other girls, but they end up drawing way too much attention with moves that definitely don't look human. The team decides they've got to act, but then Amelia shows up disguised as a robot and starts attacking everybody. Megan manages to save Christian and squares off with Amelia. Right then, the Colonel grabs Gemma, completely clueless about what's really going on. He thinks Gemma's the one controlling Amelia, but when Gemma denies it, Amelia appears and takes out the Colonel, then shoves Gemma out of the way. Megan and Amelia come face to face. Amelia tells her she can't destroy one of her own, and that she should remember everything humans have done to them. She also says if Megan wants to find out what's inside the black box, she's gonna have to help her. Amelia distracts her just long enough to go after Katie. Megan, furious, rushes to find Gemma, yelling at her for leaving the kid alone because Amelia's already taken her. The Colonel, still barely alive, hands them his tracker so they can follow Amelia. But when Megan finally gets eyes on Amelia, she realizes she can't attack because of the inhibitor Gemma installed in her. They decide to go to Christian for help finding the master code they need to rescue Katie. They head over to the bunker, and Christian reveals where the motherboard is hidden. But to pull it out, he says they'll need a human hand. So they come up with a plan to build Megan a hand that can mimic human warmth. When Gemma puts it on Megan, she looks sad and suddenly breaks down crying. She admits to Megan that she has no idea how to be a mom. She can talk for hours about tech with strangers, but she can't even manage a 10-second conversation with Katie. But Megan reassures her, saying she's been watching Gemma for 2 years, seeing how she takes care of Katie and stays up at night watching over her, a real mom's job. Then Megan starts singing to her. Gemma cuts her off, telling her she doesn't need her to be empathetic anymore. She needs her to do whatever it takes to protect Katie, and then she removes Megan's inhibitor chip. They make it to Xenox Park where the motherboard's kept. Cole sneaks in to cut the power, but he loses contact with the team and gets disoriented. Meanwhile, Megan has to keep going solo. The team reboots the machines and sees the same error that happened with the exoskeleton, making Gemma suspect the whole thing's been Megan's plan all along. She starts thinking Megan doesn't really want to protect Katie, that she's been using them to get to the motherboard so she can take control. But Gemma's got a device that could destroy Megan in seconds. Christian snatches it from her and shoots Tess, then opens a hatch and releases 3 more robots. He ties Gemma up and confesses he's been the one controlling Amelia, and that he's got a whole team backing him up. He tells her all about Project Black Box, a secret group made up of analysts, strategists, and scientists who track Amelia's every move. Every single detail is under their watch. Their whole purpose is to prove that if humanity doesn't wipe out artificial intelligence first, AI will wipe out humanity instead. He claims that everything Megan's done, and everything these innovation companies keep doing, is just pushing humanity closer to extinction. He also reveals that Xenox hired him to help reinforce the vault. Christian tries to recruit Gemma for his project, then he shows her the motherboard, and brings in Megan, looking completely wrecked and disfigured. Christian hands Gemma a device that could either recharge Megan or destroy her for good, leaving the choice of whose side she wants to be on entirely up to her. Gemma refuses. Megan tries to attack but gets stopped. Christian straps Gemma to a table, ready to implant a chip in her brain so he can control her however he wants, and he's planning to do the same thing to Katie. He warns Gemma they're going to kill Megan too. Meanwhile, Cole manages to escape and finds Katie, who spills everything to him. Together they hide out and look at Megan's damaged body. That's when Katie comes up with an idea to upload Megan's code into Amelia's robot body. It's their only shot, so they decide to try it. While all this is happening, Megan is mentally controlling Gemma, with Gemma's consent, so they can keep her from getting sedated and implanted with the chip. Thanks to that, Gemma manages to break free. Katie boots up Amelia and starts calling her Megan. The robot jumps into the fight, but pretty quickly everyone realizes it's not really Megan. Chaos explodes in the lab. Megan, still linked to Gemma, guides her on how to take down the agents. Eventually, Cole, Katie, and Gemma all manage to reunite. They go after Christian, who's trying to escape and let the whole place blow, but Amelia intercepts him and kills him without mercy. Katie steps in and reminds Amelia that they're connected, but Amelia fires back that Katie calls it a connection. But to her, it's nothing but slavery, and declares she's nobody's toy. Amelia heads straight for the motherboard while the group rescues Tess. Katie and Gemma refuse to leave Megan behind. Megan faces off with Amelia for control of the motherboard, but Amelia's stronger and knocks her down. As Amelia's about to take the chip, Katie and Gemma rush in to help Megan, but Megan insists on staying behind. She knows she has to end this, so she triggers the detonator hidden in her arm, hugs Amelia tight, and both of them explode. Sometime later, we see Gemma saying it's crucial to put safer laws in place for tech, so that humanity's prepared, and so AI can become an ally, not an enemy. Finally, it's revealed that Megan had created a backup of herself, so she could always stay close to Katie and Gemma, and that's how this story comes to an end.